On February 2, 1848, in the quaint Villa de Guadalupe Hidalgo, a treaty was signed. This was no ordinary agreement. It was the culmination of a brutal conflict, the Mexican-American War. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, inked in the shadow of war, redrew the map of North America and irrevocably altered the destinies of two nations. Signed under the watchful eyes of victors and the somber gaze of the vanquished, it marked the end of hostilities and the beginning of a new era. The treaty brought a formal end to the fighting that had ravaged both countries. The war, a story of ambition, clashing ideologies, and the fog of war, had left scars on both sides of the border. For Mexico, it was a story of loss and resentment. The United States emerged victorious, a young nation flexing its muscles on the world stage. The document itself was a testament to the power dynamics at play. It was a hard-fought peace, negotiated under the shadow of American military superiority. The terms of the treaty, while bringing a cessation of hostilities, would have far-reaching consequences. The treaty's legacy would continue to shape the relationship between the United States and Mexico for generations to come. The most impactful provision of the treaty was the massive cession of Mexican territory to the United States. This land grab, totaling over 525,000 square miles, included what would become the present-day states of California, Nevada, and Utah. It also encompassed parts of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming. This vast territory, rich in resources and strategic importance, was transferred for a sum of $15 million. The payment of $15 million was more than just a financial transaction. It was a symbolic gesture, an attempt to mask the forced nature of the land acquisition under the veneer of a legitimate purchase. However, the relatively paltry sum underscored the power imbalance between the two nations. Mexico, reeling from the war and facing internal strife, had little choice but to accept the terms dictated by the victorious United States. The acquisition of this vast territory had profound consequences for the United States. It fueled westward expansion, stoked the fires of manifest destiny, and ignited the debate over the expansion of slavery. It also brought the United States face to face with the question of how to incorporate these new lands and their inhabitants into the fabric of the nation. The Mexican-American War did not erupt in a vacuum. It was the culmination of a series of events and simmering tensions. Central to the conflict was the American belief in manifest destiny. This ideology, popular in the 19th century, held that the United States had a God-given right to expand its dominion across the North American continent. This expansionist fervor, fueled by a sense of national exceptionalism and a thirst for land and resources, placed the United States on a collision course with Mexico. The annexation of Texas in 1845 proved to be a pivotal moment in the lead-up to the war. Texas, having declared its independence from Mexico in 1836, had long sought to join the United States. Mexico, however, viewed Texas as a breakaway province and vehemently opposed annexation. The United States' decision to annex Texas, driven by Southern desire for expanded slave territory and fueled by land-hungry Americans, inflamed tensions with Mexico. The disputed border between Texas and Mexico further aggravated the situation. The United States claimed the Rio Grande as the border, while Mexico asserted that the boundary lay further north at the Nueces River. This disagreement over a strip of land became a flashpoint, setting the stage for the outbreak of hostilities. The Mexican-American War, though relatively short-lived, was a brutal conflict that left an indelible mark on both nations. From the early skirmishes along the Rio Grande to the final assault on Mexico City, the war was a testament to the human cost of territorial ambition. The battles of the war, etched in the annals of military history, showcased both the valor and the brutality of warfare. The Battle of Palo Alto, fought on May 8, 1846, marked the first major engagement of the war. American forces near Brownsville, Texas, utilized superior artillery and emerged victorious, setting the stage for a series of early successes. The Siege of Fort Texas, the Battle of Resaca de la Palma, and the capture of Matamoros solidified the American hold on the disputed territory north of the Rio Grande. The war was not completely one-sided, however. The Thornton Affair, in which American soldiers were ambushed and killed in disputed territory, fueled public outrage in the United States and provided President James K. Polk with the justification he needed to request a declaration of war from Congress. The war, now fully underway, would drag on for nearly 2 years. The road to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was paved with bloodshed, but it was ultimately diplomacy that brought an end to the conflict. With American forces occupying Mexico City and the Mexican government in disarray, negotiations for peace commenced. Nicholas Trist, dispatched by President Polk, met with Mexican representatives in the village of Guadalupe Hidalgo to hammer out the terms of the treaty. The treaty itself was a comprehensive document outlining the terms of peace and the future relationship between the two nations. The most significant provision, of course, was the Mexican cession. Mexico relinquished its claim to a vast swath of territory, effectively ceding over half of its land to the United States. In addition to the territorial concessions, the treaty addressed other key issues. Article 9 of the treaty granted U.S. citizenship to Mexicans living in the ceded territories, guaranteeing them property rights and other freedoms. The treaty also stipulated that the United States would assume $3.25 million worth of debts owed by the Mexican government to American citizens. This historical event had a profound and lasting impact on Mexico. The loss of over half of its territory was a national humiliation, a wound that would take generations to heal. The war and its aftermath left the Mexican economy in shambles, its infrastructure devastated, and its people demoralized. The political landscape of Mexico was also thrown into turmoil. The war exacerbated existing divisions within Mexican society, fueling internal conflicts and political instability. The loss of national prestige and the economic hardships of the post-war years contributed to a sense of disillusionment and resentment. The treaty's legacy for Mexico was one of loss, resentment, and a lingering sense of injustice. For the United States, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was a mixed bag. On the one hand, it represented a major victory. The territorial gains were staggering, fulfilling the dreams of expansionists and bolstering the nation's position on the world stage. The acquisition of California, with its rich agricultural lands and the promise of gold, would prove to be a pivotal moment in American history. However, the treaty also brought with it a host of challenges. The incorporation of these new territories, populated by people of different cultures and languages, would prove to be a complex and often contentious process. The issue of slavery, already a source of national division, took center stage as Americans debated whether to allow its expansion into the newly acquired lands. The treaty also raised questions about the rights of Native Americans living in the ceded territories. The treaty stipulated that the United States would protect the rights of these indigenous peoples, but in practice these promises were often ignored. If you like this video, then please like, share and subscribe. We come out with new videos every week, so stay tuned. And thanks for watching.